People living with HIV in Canada continue to be singled out for allegedly not disclosing their HIV-positive status to their sexual partners. My name is Nick Cavano. I'm a lawyer at the Canadian HIV/AIDS Legal Network. Canada's approach to the criminalization of HIV is unjust, unscientific, and it undermines public health. There have now been over 200 prosecutions in Canada, which is one of the highest rates of HIV criminalization in the world. The Legal Network is asking the government to reform the criminal code to end the unjust prosecution of people living with HIV. Canada's approach is at odds with public health objectives, and it may actually be fueling the spread of HIV. We have no evidence whatsoever that HIV criminalization helps lower HIV transmission rates. The law only applies to those who are aware of their HIV status. So if you think about it, we're actually giving people a reason not to get tested and driving them away from the medical system. People continue to be prosecuted in Canada even when there's little to no risk of transmission. The problem with the law is that it has not caught up with the science of HIV. We have medications today that reduce the risk of transmitting HIV to effectively zero, and yet people are still being prosecuted. So in our view, those prosecutions are based on fear and outdated medical knowledge. Police and prosecutors have relied on the charge of aggravated sexual assault to prosecute people living with HIV. It's one of the most serious crimes in the criminal code. It carries with it a maximum sentence of life in prison and placement on the sex offender registry. People living with HIV have also been charged under other sections of the criminal code that include the administration of a noxious substance, false pretenses, and even murder and attempted murder. The average prison sentence for a person convicted under an HIV-related offense is more than double the average sentence for sexual assaults in Canada. The overly broad use of the criminal law against people living with HIV undermines the human rights of people living with HIV, who are often members of other marginalized or criminalized communities. We know that the proportion of black men as well as gay men being charged has been increasing. Among women being prosecuted, marginalized women are overrepresented, including women in poverty, women who are survivors of sexual violence, and women with insecure immigration status. We've heard from women whose vindictive partners have threatened to report them to the police for not disclosing their HIV status, whether or not that was true. So it's clear that the overly broad use of the criminal law against people living with HIV is unfair, it undermines human rights, it's out of step with the science, and it needs to change. In particular, we're asking that HIV be removed from the law of sexual assault and that prosecutions never occur unless there is actual intentional transmission of HIV.